Okay, so being that I'm not allowed to give it financial advice, let's talk about what's really important in terms of precious metals purchases for large purchases. This is a feature or a factor that's coming up more and more now. People's concerned about the economy are getting more and more advanced. People are even considering the fact that real estate's in a bubble and people are selling real estate and looking for options to place that capital that can avoid the inflation that's obviously on our doorstep as well. So being that many of the other traditional investment strategies like bonds and corporate investments and different things like that, like derivatives, are in a bubble as well, precious metals, being generally considered undervalued in the grand scheme of things, are now becoming more and more on people's radar for parking capital for wealth preservation. And being that people are getting out of real estate, they're looking at fairly large purchases. So let's talk about how to consider a large purchase. We're talking, let's say, $300,000 or more. So what you may want to consider is increments in weights. So I've used this analogy before, and I'll use it again briefly here, that if you were going on an extended vacation, say a couple of years abroad, and you're going to travel the world, and you could take only cash with you, and nobody was going to be able to make change for you in any of those countries. They'd accept your cash, but they would not be able to make change. What increments of cash would you take with you? I would take everything from a penny right up to a $100 bill or a $1,000 bill if it was available. Why? Well, number one, having $1,000 bills is going to concentrate some of that purchasing power in a smaller package, so you have less bulk to carry. And $1,000 bills are going to be bad for buying coffee because a couple dollars for a coffee, your change is going to be losing a lot on change. So you'd want to have those $2 bills and $5 bills and $10 bills for the smallest purchases, as close to the exact increment as you want. Now, if you're buying gold and silver for investment or holding or preserving purchasing power, chances are you might want some of that capital along the way. You would want to divest yourself of a few ounces or maybe possibly more. Who knows what could happen in life. You could have a flood in your basement and suddenly you find out your insurance doesn't cover it anymore, or never did, or you thought it was in your policy and it wasn't, and you need 40 grand to fix up the basement. So you probably would cash in some of your larger gold purchases, like possibly a 10-ounce gold bar and a couple ounces, 1-ounce gold bar. But if you committed a large amount of money, let's say you had $500,000 in capital from a home sale, and you committed that all to a large increment like kilo gold bars, you'd be now forced into liquidating one of those kilo gold bars, which would be quite a bit more than you necessarily need for the time. So a kilo gold bar being around 80-some thousand right now, if you only needed 30 to 40 for the basement renovation, you'd have a lot of cash left over, and might not be the best situation for you. You might want to leave some of that cash in the gold holdings. So at that point, it would have been a better choice to have some 5 and 10 ounce bars, because you could come closer to the increment you want to cash in. I mean, all of this stuff is really common sense, but people get confused by these other complex things that people talk about when they talk about gold and silver as an asset, and they seem to avoid the simpler things, like what about the increments? What about cashing in? Practical applications of it that everybody's going to go through at some point. All of us have emergencies. Our best intentions to put money away for investment are often punctuated with unexpected, unintended consequences where we need a few dollars. And if that's a feature of life, we should look ahead to that in our choices going forward. So you may want to consider some small increment silver as well in a large purchase like that, maybe up to $50,000 or even $100,000. And why would that be? Well, if we're going to hold an asset for wealth preservation, one of the features of this particular asset that it's undervalued in terms of dollars right now, and so it has a chance for a fairly large increase. Silver, in most analysts' opinion, has much more potential upside. So if you're going to own precious metals, why not have some amount of silver? Now, of course, we've had this discussion before. Silver does get bulky. So when you start to get above a $50,000 purchase, $50,000, folks, is 180 pounds at today's prices. So think about that. That's a pretty good sized block of silver. Silver's quite dense, so 180 pounds isn't overly big, but it's a good, lunchbox sized chunk of silver. And so the question is, do you want, can you manage and handle something like that physically? If you can, great. It's a great choice, and with the potential upside for silver, that's a positive. And then also the increment, if you just needed a small, look, I need I haven't got it right now, I need $1,000 or $500 to go get a new lawnmower. Lawnmower's broken. Cash in a couple of 10-ounce bars, or a couple of coins, or a tube of maples, or a tube of rounds. All right, then you're not, again, committing to such a large amount. So these are some things to consider. These are really the practical considerations I don't hear a lot of people talking about, and in my opinion, they're kind of primary, especially a lot of new people coming into the silver and gold game right now. So these are things that are, like I said, if these are being overlooked, well, I feel maybe I need to slow things down for people and help them out with some of the more primary decisions going into this. So hope that helps, folks. If you're trying to work through this idea, take time to visit our website. There's collage pages that have all of our silver and all of our gold, and you can look at the pricing. And if you're working out how to allocate that across a large amount of dollars, that's one way you can do it. And you can come up with a little foundation there, and then that's going to shortcut your discussion time with us when we come to the store, because these are things I just point out that are obvious things to me that I point out to people when I'm trying to help them out. Again, it's not a financial thing, guys. It's not financial advice. It's more just weights and increment advice. And so you should take it as such and use it in a practical manner, as I've said. All right, so thanks for listening. Have a great day.